Welcome to the Hero's Journey. I am your empowerment guide and fellow superhero, Venus the Goddess. Thank you for joining me as we embark on the greatest journey you are brave enough to take, starting with Arc 1: The Power of Thought, Epigenetics, Neuroplasticity, and Co-Creation. This is a pre-recorded lecture, so please feel free to pause at any time to take a break. Just note the time on the video, that way you don't lose your place. This arc is robust. It's the science that grounds the hero's journey, the neuroscience behind why this program works. You don't have to be an expert, you just have to be aware. Go at your own pace. If you like, you can take notes in your hero's journal. All right, let's begin. Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. By the end of this arc, you will know how thoughts influence your genetic expression through epigenetics, the neuroscience of neuroplasticity, that is, how to reorganize your brain for optimal performance, that perception is reality, and how to become the conscious co-creator of your reality. Epigenetics, the mind as a switchboard. Subject definitions: DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. That is the fundamental molecule in cells that carries genetic information responsible for development and function of living organisms. Gene, a segment or piece of DNA that gives cells instructions for specific physical and biological traits and are passed down from parent to offspring. Epigenetics. Epigenetics is the study of changes in gene expression without altering the underlying DNA sequence. Things like behavior, environment, and experiences can change how genes work. These heritable changes are called epigenetic modifications. These influencers act like switches, turning genes on and off. They also influence how much of a gene is expressed. Epigenetics links our lifestyles, choices, environment, and life experiences to gene expression. What does this mean? It means we are not a slave to our genetic destiny. Genes are not your fate. Our daily choices shape how genes behave. Environment includes our mental environment, i.e., the mind. Thoughts become words, words become actions, actions become habits, habits become character, and character becomes destiny. Our mental environment, or the mind. Thoughts and emotions create a corresponding chemical environment in the body. A sustained thought pattern triggers the release of specific neurochemicals and hormones, which in turn influence gene expression, turning some on and others off. Chronic stress and anxiety. Stressful thoughts trigger the release of cortisol, norepinephrine, and inflammatory cytokines. Cortisol, known as the stress hormone, and inflammatory molecules encourage genes related to immune function and cell repair to turn off, while turning on genes that are related to inflammation. This becomes disease and decay in the body. deep gratitude and peace. Peaceful, gracious, and positive thoughts promote the release of oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, and endorphins. These feel good chemicals can promote gene expression that reduces inflammation and supports cellular health. This becomes health and vitality in the body. Conclusion. Our primary our primary thoughts influence which genes are expressed and how. Imagine the mind as a switchboard, your spirit as the conscious switchboard operator, and the body as the machine that responds to your commands. By consciously choosing healthier thought patterns, you create an environment of wellness and peace down to the molecular level. Perception and belief control biology. Bruce Lipton's groundbreaking work in the book The Biology of Belief popularized that idea. You are not a victim of your biology. You are its sovereign commander. All right, beloved, we're going to take a brief pause here. We will be taking small pauses or breaks throughout these arcs because pauses allow you to absorb the information, to give your brain time to process new information. You can use this moment to get a drink of water. I'm a tea drinker, so I'll be taking, sips of my tea. You could also stretch out your legs, stretch your back. It's really good for the body. Stretching is wonderful for the body. You also can practice meditation, which is a practice we will learn later in ARC 2. No, ARC 3, sorry. But in the meantime, just practice breathing. Inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. All right, let's take a moment to pause. All right, our next subject. Neuroplasticity, your mind as the sculptor. Subject definitions. Neuron. A neuron is a nerve cell, the basic functional unit of the brain and nervous system responsible for receiving sensory input, sending motor commands, and transforming and relaying electrical signals. The brain is made up of billions of neurons that communicate with each other through connections called synapses. Synapse. Synapse is the structure where a neuron passes a signal to another neuron or a target cell, facilitating communication in the nervous system. Neural pathways. Neural pathways are series of connected neurons that form a network. These pathways are the physical routes through which information travels in the brain. Now, you don't have to be a neuroscientist to understand this. Think of it this way. A neuron is the car or the driver in the car. The synapse is the bridge that the driver or the car crosses. Neural pathways are the networks of bridges, highways, and roads. Another way to think about it is the neuron is the communicator. The synapse is the phone, and the neural pathways are the telephone networks. Neuroplasticity is the brain's lifelong ability to change, adapt, and reorganize itself by forming, modifying, and strengthening neural connections in response to experiences, environmental changes, learning, and injury. This ability is central to neuroscience. Now, if you are a Marvel and DC comic book fan like myself, then you are likely familiar with the X-Men. Wolverine is a mutant. He has the X gene, regenerative healing factor, allowing him to rapidly heal from physical injury. Now, your brain can't heal as fast as he can, but it can heal and repair itself. You also have the X gene. You are a mutant. You literally have superpowers. Neurons that fire together wire together. The two main mechanisms of neuroplasticity are called synaptic and structural plasticity. Synaptic plasticity involves changes in the strength of connections between neurons, while structural plasticity involves the growth of new neurons and connections. So, when you perform a new skill or task, or experience something new, like this program, neurons communicate more frequently. Through repetition, connections strengthen and eventually lead to physical structural changes of the brain. What does this mean? It means your brain is like clay, not stone. Your habitual thoughts and actions carve, sculpt, and mold your brain. Through conscious repetition, you can rebuild your brain for your betterment and empowerment. Understanding neuroplasticity has profound implications for your mental wellness. Neuroplasticity plays a vital role in emotional regulation. When we have positive experiences, neural pathways associated with happiness and well being are strengthened. On the other hand, negative experiences can lead to the formation of neural pathways that perpetuate anxiety, depression, and other mental health problems. The brain of someone who suffers with depression has weaker networks in areas of the brain that are associated with reward and pleasure, while the connections in areas related to negative emotions are much stronger. Neuroplasticity is an ability that allows you to adapt to challenging situations and build resilience. Sufferers of chronic anxiety have very active fear-based network. Through the process of neuroplasticity, these networks can be weakened and disconnected by strengthening and building new, more resilient ones. With consistent mental training, you can rewire your brain for optimal performance. Neuroplasticity provides hope for individuals struggling with mental health issues. You aren't a helpless victim of your mental state. The brain is capable of change and recovery is possible. You can take an active role in your recovery through daily practices and activities that promote wellness and happiness, like cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness, meditation, positive affirmations, and exercise. All of these practices we are going to learn about throughout the hero's journey. By consciously choosing healthier thoughts or behaviors, you can strengthen new pathways and weaken old ones. Mental training and having a sense of purpose can support brain health and cognitive function. Where focus goes, energy flows, and new neural pathways grow. Conclusion: the human brain has evolved to heal itself through the biological process called neuroplasticity. Your brain is not a static organ, it's adaptive and flexible. Your habitual thoughts shape your brain structure. Your current mental state isn't permanent. Like a talented sculptor, You can sculpt your mental state into a healthy, beautiful, divine work of art. At will, you can reconstruct your brain into an instrument of your own salvation. All right, let's take another pause before moving into the next subject matter. All right, perception is reality. You are a co creator of your reality. Subject definitions. Reality. Reality is the world or the state of things as they exist. Perception. Perception is the state of being or process of becoming aware of something through the senses. Our sensory organs they are our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. They can only perceive a teeny fragmented fraction of reality. These organs have specialized cells called sensory receptors that are sensitive to specific stimuli. When a stimulus is detected, these receptors convert the physical stimulus into a nerve signal. This electrical and chemical signal then travels along the nerve pathways to the brain. The brain processes these signals, thus allowing us to perceive and understand our environment. For example, our eyes. Our eyes are responsible for sight. They allow us to perceive shapes, colors, sizes, and movement in the world around us. However, like our other sensory organs, they can only capture a narrow range of available information. For instance, human eyes only take in a teeny amount of high resolution data. They have a natural blind spot and can only see 0.0035% of the electromagnetic spectrum. For an example, turtles can see more colors than humans because they have more color sensing cells in their eyes than we do. So imagine the reality of a turtle, or even a cat or a dog. The way they see the world is drastically different than the way we see it. The way they experience the world is different than how we experience it. Most scientists would say that a real objective reality exists, but our perception of that reality is a heavily filtered, limited interpretation of it. You aren't experiencing reality, you are experiencing your interpretation of reality. The brain actively constructs our perception of reality through a process called perceptual filling in. It uses past experiences, expectations, and contextual clues to fill in the gaps left out by our sensory organs due to their biological limitations. This is how optical illusions work. To create a coherent picture of the real world, the brain makes its best educated guess to fill in the missing puzzle pieces. In a process called predictive processing, your brain is constantly making predictions about what you should be seeing, hearing, and feeling, then it edits reality to match those predictions. So it's like editing a video. Your brain edits and slices reality. Our perception of reality is influenced by our beliefs, biases, emotions, and the mental states and expectations of others. If your brain is unconsciously using past trauma and limiting beliefs to fill in the blanks, your perception of what is real is going to reflect this. What does this mean? It means you're not a passive observer perceiving a fixed world. You are an active participant, a co creator in constructing your experienced reality. Conscious creation. If you're going to make up a reality, why not make up one that is beautiful, joyous, and empowering? You can reprogram your perception of reality through practices like positive self talk, reframing, and affirmations that rewrite the story. Your assumptions and beliefs about reality are more powerful than reality itself. Conclusion. So, you are literally making up most of what you experience, not out of nothing, but by interpreting fuzzy signals through the filter of your beliefs, memories, and expectations. You are not a passive observer of external reality. You are an active participant in creating it. Life isn't happening to you, it's responding to you. Your thoughts, beliefs, and emotions actively create your reality. The outer world reflects your internal world. All right, let's take another pause here. All right, beloved, let's move into the next subject matter: interpersonal neurobiology, the mind as a complex self organizing system. This one's a little, well, it's a bit academic. The whole arc is academic, but I'm going to try my best to explain things in a very simplified way. Subject definitions: complex system. A complex system is a non-linear network of interacting parts whose collective behavior gives rise to emergent properties and patterns that cannot be predicted from studying the individual parts alone, but the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Now, I'm going to give you examples of complex systems. Examples include galaxies, ecosystems, hurricanes, ant colonies, cities, and the internet. Self-organization. Self-organization is the process by which coherent patterns and structures spontaneously emerge within a complex system through the interactions of its individual parts, moving from a state of disorder to order without being controlled by an external force. Don't worry about remembering or fully understanding these definitions. You don't have to be an expert, you just have to be aware, all right? The mind is everything. What you think, you become. Interpersonal neurobiology or relational neuroscience is an interdisciplinary field that studies the interactions between the brain, mind, and relationships. It was developed by Dr. Daniel Siegel, who is a clinical professor of psychiatry at UCLA. Dr. Siegel defines the mind as an emergent, self organizing, embodied, and relational process that regulates the flow of energy and information. The mind is not just the result of brain activity, nor is it confined to the brain. Instead, it extends to include the body. The mind is the gut, the heart, and bodily sensations. The mind is our relationships and the environment in which we exist. The mind is shaped by both the neurological processes that occur within the body and the interactions within our relationships, such as the interactions between a parent and a child, or a boss and a coworker, or between spouses. The mind manages the constant flow of energy and information within the brain, body, relationships, and the environment like a traffic controller. This is why your brain needs energy. It needs food. It needs to be hydrated because your mind is one busy entity. There are four emergent properties of the mind. They are subjective experience, consciousness, self organization, and information processing. These properties arise from the complex interactions of energy and information. The mind is self organizing, meaning it naturally tries to sort itself out, moving towards a state of order and balance. Optimum self organization results in a mind that is flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, and stable. Integration. Integration is the process of linking differentiated parts of a system into a harmonious whole. Integration is how a complex system achieves optimum functioning. It is the basis of mental health. Optimum self organization through the process of integration equals harmony and wellness. What does this mean? It means the mind is not simply what the brain does, as Hippocrates suggested. Like the Milky Way galaxy, the mind is a complex, self organizing system. It is emergent and capable of evolving. Like a river that flows through the pathway of least resistance, the mind naturally flows toward peace through the balance of its different parts and their connections. Wellness is the complete integration of body, mind, and spirit. The realization that everything we do, think, feel, and believe has an effect on our state of well being. All right, I'm gonna give you a metaphor. The river of well being. This metaphor is actually the metaphor that Dr. Siegel uses in his own research. Well being is the result of optimum self organization through the process of integration. That is order. Suboptimum self organization is when integration fails within a complex system. That is disorder. Without integration, the minimum result is mental suffering, while the extreme is a range of symptoms that fit the classification of mental health disorder. In his work, Dr. Siegel uses a metaphor for a river. The image on the left-hand side, it's not the clearest image, but in the center here is a river. It's called the river of well-being or integration. This is where integration happens. This is where everything flows. This is where wellness and peace takes place. On either side of this river are two banks. One bank is called rigidity, and the other is chaos. The goal of mental health and mental wellness is to stay in the middle of this river. We don't want you on the bank of rigidity, and we don't want you on the bank of chaos. All right, so the flowing river represents integration. That is a mental state that is healthy and harmonious. Again, on either side of the river are banks. One is called chaos and the other rigidity. The bank of chaos is where life feels unpredictable, overwhelming, and out of control. That is anxiety and panic. On the bank of rigidity, this is where life feels stuck, repetitive, and imprisoned by limiting patterns. This is depression and obsessive disorders. When impediments to integration occur, the mind arrives at either the bank of chaos, rigidity, or both. Well-being is a practice. Understanding the mind as a living, learning, self-organizing system provides a framework for psychotherapy and personal transformation. It helps practitioners to focus on approaches that promote integration or wellness, moving away from the banks and staying in the center of the flowing river of well-being. Remember, energy flows where attention goes. Now imagine you're paddling down this river in a kayak. You're actively practicing integration by using your energy and focus to steer clear of the banks. When you consciously focus on practices that promote integration, you are literally guiding your mind towards wellness and harmony. The mind is a complex self-organizing system that naturally seeks out order, peace, and harmony. The impediments or blockages to this harmony are your own negative thoughts. The mind has the power to heal itself. You just have to get out of its way. Conclusion: mental suffering and disorder are not the results of a broken brain. Instead, they are the results of blockages to integration within a complex system that naturally seeks wellness and harmony. As a conscious, interconnected relational being, you can use your will to promote integration, fostering a mind that is both healthy and harmonious. This is the essence of self mastery. Think of blockages to integration resulting in a system with suboptimal organization as malware. So these are like negative thoughts, for example, are the malicious viruses that has made your computer or your brain uh, go haywire. So negative thoughts are the gremlins. Your mind organizes around maladaptive processes, achieving a state of disorder. So your computer is now out of order. It's dysfunctioning. It is crashing. If you found yourself stuck on the banks of chaos or rigidity, that is anxiety, chronic anxiety, or depression, my role as your empowerment guide is to get you off of the banks and into the center of this metaphorical river. Throughout the remaining arcs of the hero's journey, You are going to learn daily practices that are going to promote optimum functioning of your mind, one thought and conscious action at a time. We are going to uninstall the malware and replace it with the personalized framework with a personalized framework that is centered around self-love, self-respect, and self-worth. The hero's journey is the framework I developed that liberated me from mental suffering and empowered me to be the greatest version of myself. So far, you learned that your thoughts influence your biology. It influences which chemicals are released in the body, contributing to disease or wellness. You learn that the brain is adaptive. It can change and heal itself. You can consciously rewire and rebuild the physical structuring of your brain. Like a gifted sculptor, you can sculpt your brain into a beautiful, pleasant work of art. Perception is reality. You are an active participant of creating the reality you experience. If you're going to make up reality, why not up a reality where you are the highest authority and victorious? Lastly, the mind naturally seeks order, and you can consciously guide it to organize around love, power, peace, joy, and beauty. Homework. There will be homework after every arc. The homework assignments don't need to be turned in. Nothing will be graded. These homework assignments are simply for your own personal practice. What they do is help you along your healing journey. So, for your homework for this arc, I would like for you to research and write a 5-sentence report on how stress affects the body. Also, I would like for you to do a self check-in. So, in your Hero's Journal or on a calendar, write down how you are feeling. So, ask yourself the question, how am I feeling today? And note your mood on the calendar or in your journal. This assignment is due a week from the completion of this video. Again, you don't have to submit anything. This is just for your own personal practice. If you do the homework, you are going to find that you are going to progress in your healing journey a lot faster than if you don't do it. And I most definitely am going to be that teacher. I'm going to be that mentor. Do your homework. Now, I'm not going to chase you down about it, but I definitely encourage you to do it. All right? This concludes Arc 1. Briefly, I'm going to go through the credits, so please bear with me before we officially wrap up. The research for this presentation was conducted using a variety of sources, including authoritative books, scientific publications, and AI-assisted research tools used to synthesize and verify complex information. The core concepts are informed by the seminal works of Dr. Daniel Siegel on interpersonal neurobiology. If you would like to learn more about any of the subjects presented, I encourage you to do your own research. This presentation contains images and diagrams used under the fair use for educational and commentary purposes within an original work. All visual media are the property of their respective creators. No copyright infringement is intended. All right, last but not least, offerings. I do offer private sessions. So, if you would like to book a virtual one-on-one mentoring session with me, You can email me at thethegoddessxx@gmail.com. Sessions are 60 minutes at a rate of $150 per hour. Voluntary offerings. If you would like to donate to this channel, my Cash App is #TheTheGoddessXX. Donations are not obligated, but donations do help me to build my channel. One day I would like to have my own website, and I'm also in process of putting together a workbook, which will have the same title as this program, The Hero's Journey, a better guide to self-help. Now, this concludes ARC 1. There are a total of 15 ARCs in this program, and they're designed to be interactive. So if you don't need a private session unless you want one. I designed the ARCs in a way where you can follow along and help yourself, especially if you are doing the homework. If you are doing the homework, you are going to progress a lot faster in your healing journey. But if you do need that extra help, or you would like that extra coaching, or you need things to be explained a little further, we can work together. All right, beloved, this concludes ARC 1. Thank you for joining me. I hope you found it interesting and educational, and I will see you ARC 2. All right, until next time, bye.